Hey everybody, welcome back to EverTune TV. I am your host, Matt Blackett, and today is a good day because I am joined by Kiko Loureiro, whose music you may know from his many solo albums, from the band Angra, or from a little group called Megadeth. So Kiko, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining me.
Well, it's great to see you. Yeah, man. Thanks a lot for inviting me here.
Yes, well, it's great to have
after
you.
we tried a few times, right?
Yes, I know. And so like finally we make it happen here. So again, it's a great day. You and I have known each other for quite a while now, and I think it was back in like 2006. I was at Guitar Player magazine. One of your records landed on my desk. It was either No Gravity or Universo and Verso, and my mind was blown. And I loved the playing on it. We got you in the magazine, and then I started checking out your other work. Right, I listened to some Angra stuff. I was equally amazed with that, even though it was totally different than your solo record. And then one day I get an email from you and there's no words. It's just a picture of you and Dave Mustaine in the studio. And I said, wait a minute, do you have the gig in Megadeth right now? And so talk about that a little bit. Like, how did that come about? How'd you get the gig? And what was it like when you guys first sat down and started playing together?
All right. So that was 2015. Yeah, I came from an Ibanez clinic tour in Europe. I was like really beat up and tired, a bit sick, coughing. It was like after, many cities, many countries and stuff like that. And then I got an email from Ellefson. Hey, Kiko, because Ellefson had my email because we jammed once, I can go back to this, situation, but it was an interesting situation. Actually, it was a metal all-star kind of a concert. Zakk Wylde, Geoff Tate, and James Labrie, and Ellefson, and so many rock stars in Bolivia. And Angra was playing that in that festival as well. And then Gus G should be there. He had some visa problem or something. He was not there, and suddenly James Labrie and some Geoff Tate, Ellefson, they were there, and then they needed a guitar player that would be able to play those songs, Dream Theater and stuff like that. And I was there at the hotel, and I got a call. Hey, Kiko, can you save the gig and play some songs with those guys? And then I said, like, man, I cannot learn all those songs in an hour, But we did play Black Sabbath, because Vinny Appice as well, Vinny Appice on drums. So I was like, oh, Black Sabbath, I can do it. So I had and then I learned the Queensryche song. And then I did that all-star metal, all-star thing. So I got to know Ellefson. So he got my email, hanging there, dressing room. And next year, 5 months later, I got this email from Ellefson. Hey, can you send me your phone number because Dave Mustaine wants to call you. So it's like this. So and then it's like okay. And then I sent my phone number. I was in LA, right? And Dave called me, but I was like so sick, I coughing, and then it's like, oh man, this. It's always like this, like this situation of you want to talk to the guy, but you're so sick and coughing, and then Dave like, okay, when you're good, call me back. And then because it was just so I mean like 2 days later, then we talked again, and then he said, I don't know, they got a list of guitar players or something, I don't know. So I was one of them. And he said like if I could go to Nashville to meet him. And then I asked, do you want me to play the songs, send a video or something? And then he said, yeah. I mean, it was interesting because he didn't it was not a real, I thought I would be flying there to Nashville for a real audition to play with the guys, whatever, and play in front of Dave. He said, yeah, you can, choose for a few songs and send the videos over, And then I was a weekend, and then and then they booked the flight on Monday or something like that. So like Saturday and Sunday, I learned the songs, like 4 songs. Actually, on my YouTube channel, I posted those videos, the videos that I sent to Dave. I kind of playing not like 100%. I didn't know like some parts, and I was like I had to learn quite fast. I think it's pretty good for someone that learns those songs and kind of memorize the whole thing, because he didn't want to be like reading papers in front of the camera or something like that, like reading notes. So, and then, yeah, they liked the video. Dave said like, yeah, but there's some parts are wrong. Because, I was playing some of his parts, because I was not sure. I didn't have the time to really go to the videos and see who plays what, whatever. And then I flew to Nashville like Monday, and then there's like, it's always not easy, because I flew to Denver first, and then the airplane, something happened with the airplane, so I have to sleep in Denver, right? So like stay there in Denver, like in the hotel, the airline, whatever, American Airlines put me in the hotel just to do the last 1 hour flight to Nashville. So because supposedly I would meet Dave like 9 a.m. on Tuesday or something like that, And then I was there like 8:30, in Nashville. Like I had a time to like a quick shower and just like ready for the audition. I brought my acoustic guitar and my guitar. I thought I would be going to a studio or something to play. And then we went, Dave started driving around Franklin and Nashville, and I thought, oh, this is like this, like they have the battlefields right there, some historical, very beautiful places there in Franklin. Then went for a coffee, then we had lunch. He was talking about Megadeth and getting, which makes totally sense. If you want to bring a person to your house, it's not about if the guy is technical enough to do the job. It's more about who is this person. Okay. I want to know the person, right? It's not because he saw the videos, and he saw probably all the videos, all my albums and all the stuff, He was recommended. My name was recommended by other players, so people that he trusts. So it was more about like, let me know who's this guy, And, so, yeah, so we spent the whole day. And at some point I went to his house. At some point he had to do something in his house, but it was not about like the audition. He went to, okay, I need to do something in my house. And then I was there. He was on the phone somewhere in his house. I was in this room with this, like all the gold discs and stuff, like, and then I grabbed my acoustic guitar. I know this story because he tells that story, that part of the day, because he was on the phone like half hour, whatever, And then I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I cannot be like, just turn on the TV, like, like at Dave's Mustaine's house. I was like stiff like this, like. Then I grabbed my acoustic guitars, like, well, start playing. And then he tells this story because he's like, oh, I was on the phone, and then I was here, listening Kiko playing the acoustic guitar stuff, And actually, I took my acoustic guitar because I know it's another side that I have and that I like to play, and then I think it's a cool thing to show. That's why I brought my classical guitar. I have some classical guitar, nylon classical guitar. I say acoustic guitar, but for me acoustic guitar is like classical. Sometimes I forget about, there's a steel string, like the Gibson ones, I'm mainly in Nashville, in Nashville. It's pretty hard to find a classical guitar in Nashville, by the way. Very hard, I know. And
so the hang.
Yeah, so that was the story. So this was very important. At some point, he said, like I was like ready to grab my guitar. He was like, oh no, let's go for another coffee or whatever. So it was basically the whole day, and at that time my daughter was like 4 years old, and then he felt like that was cool because he's a father of a daughter as well. We kind of talked about, he kind of remembered those early days of, being a father of a 4-year-old girl. I think all those is like a human connections.
Yeah.
I would say conversations about, I've been playing with Angra and going to Japan, Europe a lot, not the US, but at that time, 2015, I was pretty experienced touring and playing big festivals, not big festivals, sometimes even as headliner sometimes, but not as Megadeth, of course. And so I think he felt that, yeah, I know what we're talking about, being there, maybe there's one thing that he didn't remember, but I was on a cover of a magazine in Japan, Burn magazine, me and him in 2008, because Angra, I was like, we got like best album of the year, whatever, and then we were doing this festival, so the magazine put us together. He didn't remember, and but yeah, then I showed him the pictures. Like, oh yeah, you see, and then we did a picture, a cover, like 2016, like holding that, the cover of Burn magazine, holding that old magazine, kind of.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so when you guys started actually playing together and like writing, you wrote and recorded Dystopia quickly thereafter. How did it feel when you first started riffing together? Dave's got such a distinctive style of rhythm playing. Was it easy to settle into a groove together? You felt like you're playing instantly gelled nicely?
We didn't play together. Dave is not a person that likes to jam. Period. He's not he's like, okay, let's, it's hard to explain because, but when I went there, okay, so I had this conversation with him that day, then I flew back home, and then maybe like 2 weeks later, okay, Kiko, now we go back to Nashville for the pre-production, which I recorded the whole album, the pre-production connected to the recording of the album, and I stayed there like a month or something. So when I came there for the pre-production, the riffs and the songs, they were like, I would say like 60% done, I would say. A lot of riffs, a lot of stuff already done. And then basically Dave told me, like, learn the stuff. So we didn't jam playing together. It's like, learn the stuff, like, here it is, And then at the studio, there was another room, so I got an amp, and that was just like a computer amp. I was learning the riff. And sometimes he would come and say like, oh, that's cool, more like this, more like that. So I learned the parts, and then, so then the Conquer or Die situation, some other songs happened during those 10 days, maybe a week. Also, I play piano in that album because there was a grand piano there. I'm not a pianist, but I know how to do some stuff. And
I've heard you play piano. You can play piano.
Yeah. So yeah, well, like I was playing the chord. It's like there was a cool chord progression from one of the songs, and then he sat down on the piano and started playing that kind of. And then Dave's like, "Oh, you play piano?" And then it's like, "That's cool." And then he's like, oh, the first song of Megadeth of the first album is like the first thing Megadeth presented to the world starts on the piano. So it makes sense to kind of end the album, with the piano. Because I was not, like suggesting that I would play piano, because for me, like, piano is not an instrument, a Megadeth thing, But I thought it would be cool just to show how beautiful that song could be in another arrangement, right?
Right.
Poisonous Shadows.
Yeah.
And then it's like, Dave, no, let's do it. And then they called a guy to tune the piano, and then I was like, I spent like hours to record that thing. It's like super simple, but when you record, you have to do it right. And yeah, that was fun. So I was learning the riffs. The Conquer or Die. So it was like the story of I did a video on my channel about Dave came to me, hey Kiko, I would love to highlight you somehow on the album, so can you just compose something like Eruption? It was like Eruption, that that track that kind of changed the whole guitar history. Right. Just another one. Do you want me to write now something? Yeah, just to change the whole guitar history again. Yeah, no pressure. Yeah, so I go the first days. Yeah, it was like, Dave is like, but now I know him way better now. So like, because of course it's like something that the guitar is the main thing, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
It's like some, and then I was my acoustic guitar as always, and it was a beautiful studio, you know, in Lippers Fork. So like it's beautiful nature there, and I was playing acoustic guitar all the time, and at some point I had the Concord idea, and I came to Dave like, I think this is kind of, there's something here, you know, it's kind of spooky, it's kind of classical, and he liked, and then we worked together on the heavy part rhythms there, and then I did a solo, and then the solo. Then I remember being in his house. He had we recorded that basic tracks, no drum, just a rhythm tracks, and then I played a solo, improvised kind of, and then he's like, well, I think it was the first time that he kind of saw me soloing, you know, like in front of him. It's like, oh, he's like super happy. I remember this like he was happy. It's like, oh, this guy that's legit, you know. I have this feeling, you know, and that I could improvise, you know, something that he liked right away, you know, and then that became the song. And because the idea would be like an intro for something else, for another song, which I even don't remember, with the song that would be connected, you know, it was just an intro. But then it was so cool, the thing that they've decided to make a track, a single out of this, you know. Yeah, and he added really like some effects in the beginning, some effects at the end, some spoken words, you know, like created the whole atmosphere, you know, the name Conquer or Die, and so and became a song, which is amazing if you think like I was just like the new guy there, and then suddenly have like this few minutes of you know, solo guitar solo, you know.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful guitar performance, and it's a great story with that as well. You're off the road now, but you guys just did a big tour with Lamb of God and Trivium, and I wanted to ask you, I saw on your channel a rehearsal video of that, and you're there playing these really pretty clean tone arpeggios. The band kicks in and the camera starts shaking uncontrollably because it's so damn loud. And so I wanted to ask you, like, what was your loud ass rig for that tour that could generate that kind of sound pressure?
Yeah, well, actually, we rehearsed with the full backline set, right? So that's like the final rehearsals. Actually, Megadeth, like back in Angra, I would meet Raphael, the other guitar player, like at home, just sitting down, and like we would go through the parts, kind of practicing and relearning the parts or whatever together, like, you know, two kids playing, you know, and then we would go to like a bigger room to rehearse with drums. And Megadeth doesn't have this thing of, oh, let's play together at home before we go to the rehearsal. Like, you have to learn by yourself, and then straight to the rehearsal, full back line, the whole crew is there, you know, all the techs, the whole thing, and you just have to play, you know, have to know, and so it's kind of loud. It's pretty loud. I mean, it's rehearsal. I think rehearsal should be loud anyway, and because we do have the Marshall, cabinets. We do have the side fields, like exactly the same thing that we will have during the tour. So the side fields, we have the monitor engineer, we have the in-ears, but the way Megadeth does is like a combination of old school and all the technology of monitoring, you know. So We do have the amps, you know, you feel the amps. We do have the side field. So we could do this, but we don't have the front edges, right? Like, so then it would be the monitors, like the in-ear monitors. So I have my in-ear monitors with more guitar and click, and then the rest I can kind of hear because the stage is loud. I think Dave likes loud stage, and James, because I do have Marshall cabinets behind me, but also like the bass cabinet. The bass cabinets are like this, open, like James' side and my side. So I can hear the bass coming from the speakers, which sometimes I ask them to turn it down because then it gets too boomy for me, you know, depending on the venue. The Marshall cabinets, the side fields that gives this clarity, and the in-ear monitor. The whole thing, everything, you know, basically, you know. Most of the more modern bands, they use only the in-ears. So if you go on stage, you hear like the snare only because everything is only here, right? In-ear monitors. We do. If you go on Megadeth stage, you can hear actually the whole thing, but the vocals, you know, because the vocals then would be more in the in-ears. Yeah.
Sure. All right. Well, you and Dave both use EverTune equipped guitars for the making of the upcoming record. And this wasn't your first time using EverTune stuff.
No.
Yeah, let's take a look at that beautiful guitar you got behind you. That's
This Ivan is with this.
And so you tracked with EverTune guitars for some Angra records in the past. And so for the making of the Megadeth record, how did it affect the way you guys worked in the studio? Was it, I know at first you were using EverTune, Dave wasn't, and then I got a call from his tech who said, yeah, we kind of need to get this happening here. And so we took care of that as quickly as we could.
Yes. Oh man, it was so quick.
Yeah.
So quick. It was so quick. Yeah. You guys did a, you know, awesome job. Yeah. So I knew about because I did an album with Angra using the EverTune. It's always the same situation because first when I was in LA, I got to know EverTune, and it's like, I don't believe this. You know, like the first thing, it cannot be. This was like 2012, 2013, I guess. It cannot be. This is not real. Then I had I remember going to a studio that the guy had a Telecaster and a Les Paul, and with the EverTune, it's like, this is real. This is amazing, you know. And and then for some reason, which is not EverTune fault, but I think like my S model, it has to be this guitar. So maybe that was the reason, but I remember trying to put EverTune on my Ibanez model. And I don't know if what happened, but it didn't happen. But then I went to
the body thickness. The body's not thick enough on the S model.
Exactly. But anyways, so maybe a year later, 2014, I went to Sweden to record an Angra album with Jens Bogren. And then everybody tuning the guitar, the guy's like, oh, again, because when you want to double or have 4 tracks of guitars, you have to be really careful about the intonation. And then I told the producer, super producer, Jens Bogren, why don't you know about the EverTune? The guy said, no. I went online. He said, I don't believe this. This is not possible. I said, no, it is. I thought the same thing. But then when I really tried, and then he Googled, and then he found a LTD. I think that was the LTD brand. There was one specific guitar that you could buy with at least in 2014. And then there was a store there in Sweden, and it's I don't remember the name of the city, but it was not in Stockholm. But anyways, and then he drove right after this conversation. The producer drove to that store and brought the LTD. And then from that day on, all the rhythm tracks were recorded. with the guitar. I mean, some other stuff probably with other guitars here and there, not the solos, but like the rhythm track, mainly the third and the fourth track, you know, when you start doubling the stuff, or you have different players doubling because they do different stuff. So it's like for a producer, this is like heaven.
Right.
Okay. So now, during the Dystopia album, I mentioned, because the studio is like half of the time of your studio hours is tuning the guitar. I'm not kidding. For the ones that are not professionals here, is half of the time you're like checking tuning or tuning, or checking tuning or tuning. And then if you double, you know, 2, 3, 4 guitars, you have to be very careful about this, you know, otherwise it's gonna be, you know, chaos. In bands that use keyboards and, you know, other instruments, that the intonation is like perfect. You have to, or you record the keyboards first, and then you have at least this reference of the keyboard, or have to be really careful, always checking tuning, which is a normal thing in the studio. Like a producer, like, please check tuning. The guy has to remember, okay, let's try again. Please check tuning.
Yep.
And then you check, okay, it's good. Okay, can you try again? Please check tuning. It's like, so with EverTune, you don't have that, which is super weird. You know, it's weird in a good way. You know, it's like, I can't believe I don't need to check tuning anymore. Just like, you know, like try again, just another take, you just double. And then you double, you don't have to stop to check tuning, to check the intonation, if it's right or wrong or whatever. And it's like, and then this album, so I told this to the producer, but this time so in Dystopia it didn't happen because we were already recording. So like, you have to convince people that there's this equipment that is gonna save us a lot of time, you know, but then you don't have the guitar there, you know. So this time I tried to organize things before, you know. So when I came to record the album, my focus, yeah. When I came to record the album, the guitar was there already, ready to go. Thanks a lot, you guys, because I've been sent the guitar to you guys, and you guys prepared the guitar. So then I was like, so easy, because I did a pre-production with my Ibanez, without the EverTune. So then when I came there to Nashville to record the album, I said, like, we need to have this, we need to have that, you know. And then what happened? I started recording, and Dave would be there recording. Please check tuning. And then please check tuning. And then I was there like, okay, my turn. Just like, okay, end of the day, several songs recorded. And then next day Dave comes, please check tuning. Oh, again, I might have to record again that riff because the intonation is not so, you know. And yeah, it's like, because Dave has an extra thing. He plays really hard. He has like this, you know, heavy hand. And then, so the tech, Brian, has some, you know, they have to like tune a little bit, which is normal.
That's right.
Tune down a bit, right? So when you hit the and then we using D standard. So when you hit hard, it might have some intonation problems,
right.
You know, all over the place, and you start doubling, and then you gotta double what I played, and I don't hit as hard, and then I'm playing a guitar that like the tune is always perfect. Then now you can hear, because of course if the same guy records, and then maybe it's a trio band, or it's like guitar and bass only, and the same guy doubles, and you have some intonation things, maybe it's okay, it's natural. That's right. All the albums we love. All the albums we love is like this, you know. So maybe it's okay, you double and then you fix some stuff here and there, and it's fine. Or if it's a single guitar, you know, if it's like one guitar and bass, that it's okay to have some intonation things. But when you start doubling and you want this modern sound because everything is perfect and clean and precise, then it makes a big difference, and it saves time.
Yes. No,
and saves a
absolutely.
lot of time.
That thing you're describing, you know, the way the pitch will jump when you lean into a low string like that is a sound unto itself. But you're right. If you have two different players hitting differently, suddenly it just starts sounding out of tune. And so if you're going to be doubling and tripling and quadrupling these things, then yeah, the EverTune tracks, they line up really nicely, and it's just so fast. And, you know, for me, it makes it a lot easier to not forget exactly what I just played on the prior track, because you're not wasting time tuning up in between. You can just hit it again and not forget it. You know, I don't know if that's a thing for you guys, but it is for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, that's that too. You know, you just played one thing and just like right after you just double that part, and you don't need to feel like, oh, I have to tune again. Then I forgot the way you played. Maybe it was more muted. Maybe it was open. Whatever. I have to listen. Oh, I was muted. Okay, so then you record. So yeah, the whole process is way faster. And yeah, so you know, Dave saw that. And, well, actually, I was making joke. You know, I like telling Dave, hey, sorry, Dave, my guitar is better than yours. You know, he's a guy that, you know, like, he's like, how, what? Yeah, my guitar is better than yours. Are you like old school like this, like still tuning guitars? No, I was just making fun, you know, like which with normally people, you know, Dave's a funny guy. He's a funny guy, but he's also very serious. It depends. It depends. You know, like on those moments of like recording the stuff, he's not that funny. He's like, you know, let's do the job. You know, like he's serious. You know, he's like, and so I make some jokes sometimes.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's exactly.
I think it's funny. I think it's funny to make jokes on those moments, but it's very tricky. You have to find the right spot, because it might be a problem.
Oh, I don't think I'd have the guts to do it. But it's funny, when his tech called, I got the call here on a Sunday morning, and he explained
it was a Sunday,
and he said, Dave's getting angry because Kiko's guitars are tracking better than his. And I said, we do not want an angry Dave Mustaine. What do I have to do to get a smile on that? I remember this. So
yeah.
So that's what
you guys did the flying V, right?
Yep.
The V. Yeah.
Yep.
And then he basically, I would say he, you know, I was not all the time there when he was recording, so I cannot, you know, confirm this 100%. But I believe that he basically recorded all the rhythms with that guitar.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but at least what I saw, you know.
I just saw a video of him. It was like for the Megadeth beer or something, and he was riffing on that guitar. And I just thought, like, okay, so Megadeth, beer, and EverTune. I mean, what else do you need, right? I mean, that's everything.
You can imagine he has a lot of guitars, and there's a lot of guitars flying around there. So, but now this V is like one of his main, at least at the studio for this situation. Live, he's, you know, playing all sorts of different models and colors and stuff like that. Now with the, you know, the Gibson, even using some Kramers and stuff, different Kramers live. But yeah, so I believe that guitar was his main guitar, at least for the rhythm tracks.
Yeah, very cool.
Cool.
It's great, and you know, we certainly look forward to hearing him. Your native country of Brazil has always been famous for great guitarists, right? But nowadays, I'm looking at you and Mateus Assado, Larry Basilio, and it seems like you're taking over the world. And so I want to know, is there something in the water in Brazil? Like, what is the secret? I want to know the secret.
The Amazon water. Rainforest. Right? No, thanks, man. But actually, yeah, those you know, Mateus, Larry, amazing players, you know, Andre, Nieri, like so many other ones, like so many. But I would say is we're just continuing all the you know, Brazilian, our heroes from Brazilian music, you know. So Brazilian music didn't start with us, you know. It's like I would say it kind of shares the North America, history. Somehow is a bit different because of the colonization from the Portuguese, mainly because of the religious difference of the Protestant or Catholic, the Portuguese, which gives a totally different flavor to the how music was integrated in the country. So because the Catholics, they kind of let the slaves to play their Latin the way to play the drums. So this is more embedded, the drums, and in the Brazilian music, the drums, and then all the Afro influences, So all the Afro influences are more embedded and mixed with the European influences and the native Indians influences music. So it's more like combined. And then what I see in North America in general would be during the slavery times, they were not playing percussions anymore, not allowed, because this is always related to the a chant for different saints, right? So as the Protestants, they don't have saints, so you don't have a specific groove for that specific saints, right? So basically, it turns into like playing European instruments or singing. So that's why I think the gospel, like a lot of great traditions of the gospel singing and choirs and stuff like that, or playing drums and saxophones and trumpets, European instruments, which in Brazil stay in the percussion. Brazil and Cuba, Caribbean countries, the percussion is a big thing, right? So, and I don't know why I'm saying that, but because it comes.
I didn't know where this question was going to go. That's a great answer and a great
history lesson. It comes like, so at some point, and that happens in the classical music. At some point, the Brazilian culture, because always kind of copying the French, as North America as well, copying the French culture, right? Or German's classical music and French classical music. At some point, but in Brazil it was mixed with the percussion, with the groove, that groove from the samba, right? To make it clear. And then in the US would be the blues. And then you have the New Orleans, jazz, French blues, and this mix of the European music with the blues. And then Brazil would be with the samba, with the percussion stuff, kind of simplifying the stuff. But at some point, there's a moment like with Villa Lobos and other artists that they kind of create what is the Brazilian music, not a copy. What is this melange? What is this mix, melting pot of cultures? Now we have our unique thing, and this starts from the year 20s, right, and 30s, and then we'll culminate in 59 with the bossa nova that becomes a big thing to the world, and Tom Jobim with Girl from Ipanema and Frank Sinatra, like, okay, so bring those people here, and then you have a Carnegie Hall big concert with the Brazilian, was kind of a debut of the bossa nova in, right? So that's 59, which is like the Cuban Revolution. So it's kind of like North America trying to find some other Latin kind of thing to dance because it was not good anymore to relate with Cuban music, So kind of I think the Brazilian music profit from that political situation, right? And that you can see in that movie Buena Vista Social Club, right, with Wright Cooder, that he went there. It's like, where are those guys? Basically, that's the movie. Where are those guys that I grew up listening to? And then they suddenly disappeared. And now they're like all those old guys, because suddenly after 59, oops, it's better not talking about, like praising Cuban music or praising, right, Cuban culture, or So now we have Brazil with all this harmony and dancing girls and carnival, and so very interesting in the 50s, because Brazil's like kind of booming economically as well. So we're just like a result of all this. We're we are a continuation of this. That's what I believe. With Jobim, and then after Jobim with the Bossa Nova, Tom Jobim, right, with the Girl from Ipanema composer, right, and then so many other composers from that time, and then great pianists and musicians in general, even others. It's a huge country with a lot of different music movements happening in the 70s, which you could see this like Wayne Shorter talking to going to Brazil and recorded with Milton Nascimento, Native Dancer, Chico Ria with Return to Forever in the 70s with Flora Purim, and Brazilians going there, and Ayrton Moreira, and Route 66, and so many musicians, and guitar. It was more like the acoustic, the classical guitar, amazing classical guitarist. But you have Hélio Delmiro, you have Toninho Horta, which is if you go and listen to Toninho Horta, Horta, right, with H, it's like you can understand Pat Metheny listening to Toninho, and that music, that Pat Metheny kind of music was happening in Brazil before in the 70s, kind of a rock, like triads with the mysterious thing from the forest with the percussion. And actually from those days, the Pat Metheny albums, you had like Naná Vasconcelos, which was a Brazilian percussion for many years he had. So to give that flavor, that forest flavor, and then this is Di Meola, was there drinking that
into that too,
drink.
right?
He drank that water, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Actually, the late night San Francisco album, the famous 81, right? Late night San Francisco, Di Meola, Paco, and John McLaughlin, right? There's a song from Egberto Gismonti, like the composer of one of the songs is Egberto Gismonti, which is like one of the best musicians in this planet. So that comes since the 60s there. So those guys knew, and I was like, okay, let's get a song from Egberto, because Egberto was those guys' heroes.
Right.
So this tradition is coming from decades, and I grew up as a young musician learning. It's like I went to the Egberto shows, or Hermeto Pascoal, or like Egberto has an album, only Naná Vasconcelos, this percussionist from Pat Metheny, and Egberto playing acoustic guitar and percussion only. It's a bit more, like experimental, I would say, but so I mean it's a huge country with a lot of beautiful combination of those cultures of the African, Brazilian, European, and Native Indians, and then we were like a rock guitar player, and then we were like 90s. We were like I grew up listening to Van Halen, to AC/DC, Maiden, and kind of anger was like trying to be what those guys in Brazilian music was, kind of what would be and Sepultura of the same. What is the Brazilian heavy metal? Which is Judas Priest combined with the percussion, like all these harmonies from the bossa nova, those beautiful chords that came from the Debussy, from the French tradition, Debussy, Chopin, Ravel, and that is embedded now in the Brazilian music. That's why when you see Matheus Assato, he has such a beautiful harmonic taste.
It's true.
Because it comes from this, that's what I believe, it comes from this tradition, because the songs on the radios it's just like with interesting harmony, like the pop radio friendly songs, just like Stevie Wonder, it's a radio friendly song, Stevie Wonder, but the harmonies that comes from the gospel, that comes from the jazz, that he's able to mix. That's why Stevie Wonder is Stevie Wonder.
That's right.
And his songs will be there forever, right? Sorry about this, like 20 minutes answer.
No, I mean, it's a great answer, but I still think there's something in the water, and that would be so much easier for me if you could just send me some of that water. I'll drink it, and then I'll be able to play.
I mean, yeah. Well, maybe I don't know if you're drinking the Brazilian water. I don't know. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know. I never know. I never know.
It's a great answer, and it is a great history lesson. So I thank you for that, and I just thank you for taking the time today. This is great to talk to you. Man. I know you're busy. We're all definitely looking forward to hearing the record whenever we can. So I'll be patient with that. But
yeah, meantime, 2022 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean we have some touring coming up, right? So in the US and European festivals as well. Right, in Europe, June, some dates are already there on the website. And then, of course, the release of the album is going to be strategically placed. The dates are going to be strategically placed that kind of, makes sense to the touring and things like this,
That's right.
Showbiz stuff, like you're not gonna release a metal album in Christmas time, maybe let the artists doing their Christmas albums release their stuff, and then Megadeth comes. Actually, Dystopia was kind of a similar thing in a way. The album was, because the album is ready, right? So we recorded Dystopia, and then a single was released, but the album was released the next year, beginning of the next year, so you can always keep going with the tour and do all the right promotions and the whole thing that how it goes. So.
That makes sense. I trust you guys to do the right thing. So in the meantime, best of luck with everything. I'll be watching your channel, keeping up with you that way. Let us know if there's anything you need from us, but otherwise, man, thank you again. This has been a delight.
Thanks, man. It's always a pleasure. Anytime. Thanks a lot for EverTune and to help me recording the albums. And thanks a lot.
Yes.
And see you. Yeah, keep talking. Yeah, man. You're always invited to the shows, and anytime you want, we can chat more.
Thank you again.
Thanks, man. Cheers.